Lady Helena Marlowe had always promised herself that her heart would remain untouched by the Duke of Whitford, a man whose claim on her hand was rooted in obligation, not passion. She would be his wife in title alone, a spectator to a life she hadn't chosen. Yet, the moment she glimpsed another woman laughing at his side during the Peaton ball, an unexpected storm of jealousy and longing surged through her, blurring the line between resentment and desire. The morning of her wedding dawned dull and overcast, as if the skies themselves sympathized with Helena's sense of loss. From the tall windows of her childhood room at Marlowe Manor, she watched elegant carriages pull up, carrying the city's elite to witness what they would call the season's most celebrated union. To Helena, it felt like the end of freedom, the surrender of every ambition she had ever dared to dream. At 23, Helena's beauty was undeniable. Her golden hair cascaded in waves that shimmered like sunlight, and her emerald eyes, framed by dark lashes, could hold the gaze of anyone who dared to meet them. Her figure was graceful, her movements precise, each gesture refined by generations of aristocratic upbringing. But the Duke had not come for her beauty. He had come for her dowry, her family's connections, and the political advantages such a marriage promised. Helena knew this bitter truth all too well, and it steeled her against the man she was about to Wednesday. "My lady," her maid, Sarah, said gently, breaking her thoughts. "It's time to dress for the ceremony." Helena turned, her face a mask of composed indifference. "Very well, Sarah. Let's prepare me for my execution." Sarah sighed, worry etched in her features. "It cannot be so dreadful. The Duke is renowned for his handsomeness and wealth, surely there is some comfort in that." Helena's lips curved in a faint, ironic smile. "Comfort? No. This marriage is a transaction, nothing more. I expect neither love nor affection." As Sarah assisted her into a wedding gown of ivory silk and intricate lace, an ensemble that could have sustained a modest household for a year, Helena reflected on the circumstances that had led her here. Her father, the Earl of Marlowe, had suffered disastrous financial losses, leaving the family estate on the brink of ruin. The Duke's proposal had arrived as a lifeline, a promise to secure their future, but at a cost Helena could hardly bear. Attempts to refuse had been met with unyielding insistence. Her sacrifice was necessary to protect her siblings and preserve the family legacy. Duty had triumphed, but her dreams of love had been buried. "You look radiant, my lady," Sarah whispered as she adjusted the final folds of the veil. Helena stared into the mirror, recognizing a stranger, a woman adorned in splendor yet bound by circumstance. "An angel in chains," she murmured. The ceremony at St. George's, Hanover Square unfolded with all the grandeur befitting a union of nobility. Helena moved through each ritual with calm precision, her voice steady as she repeated vows that felt hollow, masking the tumult within. And then she saw him. Duke Sebastian Whitford, 31, tall and formidable, with dark hair and piercing blue eyes that seemed to strip away every pretense, stood before her. His presence demanded attention, and for the first time, Helena felt the uneasy stirrings of something she hadn't anticipated, curiosity, perhaps even a shadow of intrigue. Helena quickly realized that Duke Sebastian Whitford was a man used to command, his presence demanding attention without effort. There was no warmth in his gaze, only the kind of controlled, magnetic authority that made people follow him without question. He was striking, undeniably so, but the chill in his demeanor confirmed Helena's fears. This was a man of duty, not of affection. During the ceremony, his vows were crisp and precise, delivered with the clarity of a man honoring a responsibility rather than expressing love. When they were pronounced husband and wife, his brief, courteous kiss was flawless in form but devoid of passion, leaving Helena with nothing but an icy emptiness settled deep in her chest. The wedding breakfast that followed was a grand display, overflowing with society's finest, each guest eager to celebrate the union of two powerful families. Helena played her role flawlessly, smiling and nodding, yet she felt detached, as though observing from behind a glass wall. "You've done well, Helena," her father murmured as he led her into the first dance. "Sebastian is a good match. He will provide security and stability." Helena's voice was measured, almost neutral. "I hope you find that comforting, Papa." His eyes, full of hopeful reassurance, or perhaps self-deception, met hers. "He is honorable. He will treat you well." Helena said nothing, silently questioning whether her father truly believed happiness could come from a loveless union, or if he simply needed to soothe his own conscience. The journey to Whitford Castle in Derbyshire was long and quiet. Helena watched Marlowe Manor disappear behind her carriage, feeling the definitive severing of her past life. The castle loomed ahead, an impressive blend of medieval strength and modern refinement, and Helena couldn't help but feel as though she were entering a gilded cage. Over the following days, she and Sebastian fell into a careful routine. Mornings were spent together in polite conversation, often limited to weather and local news, before each retreated to their own tasks. He managed the vast estates and business dealings with unwavering diligence. She explored her new home, trying to find purpose amid the emptiness. Mrs. Hartwell, the housekeeper, admired Helena's composure and independence but often wondered if the Duchess would ever engage more deeply with the household. "Would you like to adjust the schedules, the menus, perhaps the gardens?" she asked one afternoon. Helena's reply was simple: "Everything is satisfactory." Accepting any changes felt like surrendering to the life she had been thrust into, something she was not yet ready to do. Helena sought refuge in the castle's library and gardens, finding quiet in the company of books and nature. The gardens, a vast expanse of manicured lawns, rose beds, hidden groves, and serene ponds, became her sanctuary. It was there, during one of her solitary walks, that she encountered Sebastian unexpectedly. He approached from the stables, wind-tousling his dark hair, his commanding presence unshaken even outside the formalities of courtly life. "I didn't expect to see you here," he said, his voice calm but attentive. Helena closed her book, uncertain whether to rise. "I enjoy the gardens. They are peaceful. I hope I am not intruding." "Not at all," Sebastian replied quickly. "I was inspecting the tenant farms. The gardens are yours as much as mine." A delicate silence followed before Helena ventured a question, testing the waters of conversation. "How do you find the tenants?" "Generally prosperous and content," he said, standing near the pond's edge. "Though responsibilities are never complete, there are always repairs, improvements, considerations to be made." "You take your duties seriously," Helena remarked, observing the careful control in his stance. "I do," he said, glancing at her with an intensity that made her heart skip unexpectedly. For the first time since their wedding, Helena sensed a flicker of something unspoken, a tension beneath his disciplined exterior that hinted at possibilities neither of them had yet dared to explore. Helena noticed something shift in. "Is it so surprising?" he asked, a hint of wounded pride slipping through. I suppose I simply hadn't considered it," she said, feeling a twinge of guilt for her own preoccupation with her losses. "Over 2,000 people depend on your estates." "Yes," he replied quietly, his tone solemn. "And their welfare is not a responsibility I take lightly." Helena felt a flush of shame. In focusing so much on her own unhappiness, she had failed to see the broader weight of his duties or the integrity that guided him. "I apologize," she said. "I didn't mean to suggest negligence." "No apology is needed," he said, regaining his composure. "I should return to the house. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon." As he walked away, Helena found herself studying his retreating figure, realizing that there was more to Sebastian than she had allowed herself to imagine. Yet even with that realization, the practical truth of their marriage, an arrangement neither had chosen, remained. Months passed, and Helena settled into life at Whitford Castle with the quiet determination of someone fulfilling a duty. She undertook her duchessly responsibilities with precision, visiting the sick among the tenants, organizing charitable events, overseeing household matters. Sebastian remained courteous, maintaining a polite distance, and their exchanges stayed formal yet civil. Still, Helena occasionally caught him observing her in a way that suggested curiosity, or perhaps a subtle frustration at her continued reserve. Winter evenings stretched long and silent, the castle's vast rooms emphasizing their emotional distance. They occupied the same spaces, the library, drawing room, music room, but kept apart, like two bodies moving in parallel, never meeting. Helena read while he attended correspondence, she played the pianoforte while he managed estate affairs. Their lives had become a pattern of polite coexistence, orderly yet profoundly lonely. One February evening, snow drifting lazily past the library windows, Helena felt the unmistakable weight of his gaze. Looking up from her book, she found his blue eyes fixed on her with unusual intensity. "Is something troubling you?" she asked. "I was wondering," he said cautiously, "if you are happy here." The question stunned her. Since their wedding day, he had never ventured beyond formalities into anything so personal. "I'm content," she replied, not untrue, yet far from the whole truth. "Content," he echoed softly, testing the word. "That isn't the same as happy, is it?" Helena's heart fluttered, uncertainty twisting in her chest. Was he dissatisfied with their arrangement? Did he intend to alter the carefully maintained distance between them? "I have all I could reasonably ask for," she said. "A home, comfort, respect. What more could anyone want?" "Love," he said quietly, the word deliberate and weighty. "Companionship. A true partnership, not just polite coexistence." Her pulse quickened. "I thought we agreed this marriage would remain practical." "We never agreed on anything," he replied gently. "We simply fell into avoidance. But it doesn't have to stay that way." "What are you suggesting?" she asked, torn between hope and fear. "That we try to be more than what we are now," he said. "That we might become friends, perhaps something closer." Helena's breath caught. Part of her had longed for precisely that, an end to the solitude that had settled over her life, a chance to know the man behind the Duke's austere mask. And yet, fear held her back, whispering that desire could lead only to vulnerability. Still, in that moment, the possibility shimmered, fragile but real, a first spark of hope amid the cold halls of Whitford Castle. Helena hesitated, the confession caught somewhere between her lips and her heart. Vulnerability felt dangerous, yet the warmth that had been slowly building between them made it impossible to retreat entirely. I need time to consider it, she said finally, and Sebastian nodded, a flicker of disappointment in his eyes that she couldn't quite hide. That night, lying in her elegant bedroom, Helena found herself replaying his words, but more than that, the look he had given her, attentive, patient, as if her answer truly mattered. Sleep came fitfully, for her thoughts kept returning to the subtle shift in their relationship, the possibility of something more than duty. Change came gradually. Helena began joining Sebastian for dinner in the main dining room, leaving behind her solitary meals. Conversations lengthened, moving beyond weather and estate matters to include literature, politics, and social concerns. Helena discovered he possessed a sharp intellect and a dry wit that could make her laugh unexpectedly. He, in turn, welcomed her opinions, encouraged her to share her ideas, and listened with genuine interest. "I've been reading about conditions in the industrial cities," she said one evening. "The reports are distressing, children working in factories, families in squalor." Sebastian nodded thoughtfully. The Industrial Revolution brings wealth, but at great cost to the working class. Change is slow, but necessary. Helena's voice rose with quiet passion. "Schools, better housing, regulations to protect workers, it's something we could influence." He regarded her with a mix of admiration and amusement. "You sound like a reformer." "Perhaps I am," she admitted, surprised by the fervor in her own words. "Not shocking at all," he said. "Admirable, in fact. Too many of our class turn a blind eye rather than confront these realities." Slowly, the walls Helena had built around herself began to crumble. Sebastian was not the detached aristocrat she had imagined. He was thoughtful, principled, and deeply concerned for those around him. As spring arrived, their partnership extended beyond conversation. Sebastian invited Helena to accompany him on rounds of the estate, showing her tenant improvements and new agricultural projects. She offered suggestions, from adding books to the village school to creating a small library for families. "Would you oversee this project?" he asked, genuinely surprised. "Of course," she said, touched by his trust. "You are my partner in all things," he said simply. "Why wouldn't I trust your judgment?" The word partner sent a flutter through Helena's chest. It was the first time he had framed their relationship in such terms, and she found she liked it more than she expected. Together, they managed the estate, and Helena began to notice the small, intimate gestures that had previously gone unnoticed, the way Sebastian ensured she was comfortable during rides, remembered her preferences for tea or flowers, or took interest in her letters from home. Each act, subtle yet deliberate, chipped away at the lingering walls of caution she had erected around her heart. During one of their estate rides, Helena observed Sebastian interacting with the tenants. He knew their names, their families, their struggles, and he treated them with respect, fairness, and genuine care. "You truly care for them," she remarked quietly. "They are my people," he said simply. "Their welfare is both my duty and my privilege." Helena realized, with a mix of awe and relief, how wrong she had been about him. The man she had thought cold and calculating was deeply committed to community and responsibility. The marriage she had assumed was purely transactional now revealed itself to be something larger, an opportunity for shared purpose and mutual respect. One evening in early April, in the quiet glow of the library lamps, Helena studied Sebastian's profile. The lamplight caught the strong lines of his jaw and the dark sweep of his hair, and for the first time she confronted a truth she had tried to ignore. His presence affected her, stirred her pulse, warmed her skin. When had admiration shifted into desire? She could not say, but it was undeniable. "You're staring," Sebastian said lightly, without lifting his eyes from his book, though the faint curve of his lips betrayed his amusement. "I'm thinking," Helena replied, unable to look away. "About what?" he asked, finally setting the book aside and turning to face her. "About how wrong I was about you," she said, her voice soft but firm, feeling the weight, and the wonder, of that realization. Helena spoke with honesty that surprised even herself. "When we married, I thought you were distant, almost indifferent. But you're not, are you?" Sebastian paused, his blue eyes searching her face. "I was trying to be," he admitted softly. "I thought it would be easier if I kept my distance." "Easier how?" she asked, heart quickening. "Easier than wanting something I couldn't have," he said quietly. "What did you want?" Helena's voice barely rose above a whisper. "You," he said simply. "Your trust, your companionship, your affection. A real marriage, not just a polite arrangement. Helena opened her mouth, unsure how to respond. The admission shifted something between them, a trembling at the edge of something new and fragile. I'm sorry, Sebastian added hastily, misreading her pause. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. Our arrangement, it suits you, doesn't it? No, Helena said, reaching out instinctively to touch his hand. I'm not uncomfortable. Just surprised. Surprised, he echoed, his curiosity piqued. I thought we were content with friendship. I didn't realize you wanted more. I have wanted more since our wedding day, he confessed. But I try to respect the space you seem to need. Helena stared at him, realizing the irony. They had each assumed the other wanted only distance, while secretly desiring connection. I think we've both been mistaken about the other, she admitted slowly. Perhaps we have, he agreed. And what do you want, truly? Not what seems practical or expected, but what you genuinely want. It was a dangerous question, one that demanded truth from a heart still learning its own desires. I want to try, she said finally. I want to see what we could be together if we stopped being so careful. Sebastian's smile was radiant, warm enough to chase away months of doubt. I would like that very much, he said. A season of discovery, then. What followed was a courtship unlike any Helena had imagined. Sebastian wooed her with patience and care. He brought fresh flowers from the gardens, shared books and ideas, and listened intently to her thoughts and dreams. They took long evening walks, spoke about everything and nothing, and slowly peeled back the layers of formality that had defined their relationship. I used to think love was a luxury I couldn't afford, Helena confessed one night by the pond. Something that belonged only in novels. And now? Sebastian asked, taking her hand. Now I think I was afraid, she admitted, afraid of caring too deeply, of giving my heart to someone who might not care in return. And are you still afraid? He asked gently. Terrified, she admitted, yet the fear was tempered by trust. Sebastian lifted her hand, pressing a gentle kiss to her palm. I love you, Helena, he said quietly. I have for months, and I always will. You need never fear that changing. Tears filled her eyes. I love you too, she whispered, words both a prayer and a promise. Their first kiss as lovers was everything the wedding kiss had not been, tender, passionate, and full of the longing that had built quietly over months. When they finally parted, Helena rested her forehead against his. I can't believe how long we waited, she murmured. Not wasted, Sebastian corrected gently. We needed time to become the people capable of loving each other fully. If we had rushed, we might have missed this entirely. Spring blossomed into summer, and their partnership deepened. Helena became a true partner in all aspects of estate life and charitable work. Sebastian sought her counsel in both personal and business matters, and their love grew alongside mutual respect and trust. Their intimacy evolved naturally, filled with generosity, tenderness, and a shared joy that neither had anticipated. I never knew it could be like this, Helena confessed one morning as they lay entwined. Physical intimacy, Sebastian said softly, pressing a kiss to her temple, is one of life's greatest pleasures when shared with the right person. I am honored to be that person for you. And I for you, Helena replied, marveling at how completely her understanding of love and marriage had transformed. Yet, reality remained. Invitations to London society arrived in increasing frequency, pressing them to participate in the social season. We can't avoid London forever, Sebastian said one evening. As much as I would rather stay here with you, obligations remain. I know, Helena admitted, anxiety tightening in her chest. But I worry. What if people see through us? What if they suspect our marriage began as a convenience, not love? It is love now, Sebastian said firmly. That's what matters. Is it enough? Helena asked. Society will watch us, scrutinize us, waiting for signs of discord. We'll prove them wrong, he said with quiet confidence. We will show them what we have become, not what we started as. Helena drew comfort from his certainty, though the thought of returning to the public eye left her with a flutter of nervous anticipation. Their love was real, but the world would not take it at face value. They would have to navigate society with courage, showing strength both privately and publicly, together. Crimson silk, trimmed with delicate gold embroidery that caught the candlelight with every movement. Her hair was swept into an elegant chignon, and a few soft curls framed her face, softening the intensity of her emerald eyes. For the first time, Helena felt both proud and radiant, not as a duchess by duty, but as a woman fully aware of her own happiness. Sebastian arrived beside her, his presence steadying and reassuring. His tailored black coat and crisp white cravat made him look every bit the commanding duke, but when his eyes found hers, warmth and pride shone through. You look extraordinary, he said quietly, taking her hand. But you've always been extraordinary, Helena. As they entered the grand ballroom, a hush fell over some of the guests, both admiration and curiosity painting their faces. Whispers travelled through the room, as London society speculated about the true state of the Duke and Duchess of Whitford. Helena felt a flutter of nerves, but Sebastian's hand on hers grounded her. Throughout the evening, they navigated conversations with poise and ease. Helena discovered that the confidence she had cultivated in private could translate to public settings. She laughed, shared opinions, and found herself genuinely enjoying the engagement with some of England's most influential families. And through it all, Sebastian's gaze frequently found hers, a silent affirmation that they were united not just in title, but in heart. It was not all smooth sailing. At one point, Helena noticed a young socialite leaning close to Sebastian, her laughter light and familiar. A small pang of unease struck Helena, but she quickly reminded herself of the trust and bond they had built. She let Sebastian handle the conversation, observing how he treated the woman with polite courtesy rather than flirtation, a subtle display that reassured her. "You were wonderful tonight," Sebastian whispered as they made their way to the carriage. "Confident, engaging, completely yourself. I was proud to be by your side." Helena's lips curved into a smile. "I was nervous at first," she admitted, "but I realized there's nothing to hide. Our love, it's real. Why would I feel ashamed?" "You shouldn't," Sebastian said, squeezing her hand. "Our love is to be celebrated, not concealed. Let them see it. Let them know what we are." In the weeks that followed, Helena and Sebastian continued to appear at dinners, musical evenings, garden parties, and smaller gatherings. Each event allowed Helena to grow more comfortable in her role, her affection for Sebastian evident to everyone around them. The shy, cautious woman who had once feared London's scrutiny had transformed into a duchess confident in both her position and her heart. Yet, the true test of her composure came at the Grand Peaton Ball in late July. This was the pinnacle of the social season, the event where reputation, charm, and subtle power plays could shape perceptions for months to come. Helena had meticulously prepared for this night, choosing her gown, her jewelry, even the soft perfumed touch she would wear. But beyond the surface, she carried the weight of a deeper anxiety. Could she maintain her happiness, her authenticity, under the sharp eyes of London's elite? As the orchestra struck up its opening notes and the glittering crowd danced and mingled, Helena felt Sebastian's hand find hers once more. For the first time, she realized that no matter the scrutiny or the whispers, they faced it together. Their marriage, born of necessity, tempered by understanding, and now blossoming into true partnership, was no longer a private solace. It was a union strong enough to withstand society's gaze, strong enough to shine brightly in the most dazzling of halls. And as they moved across the ballroom, heads turning to admire the Duke and Duchess of Whitford, Helena understood fully that happiness, like love, was not just a private possession, it was something to be boldly lived and proudly shared. Fears melt away, replaced by a fierce, exhilarated certainty. Every step she took beside Sebastian, every glance exchanged, reinforced the truth she had discovered over months of careful, patient courtship: their love was real, powerful, and unshakable. The ballroom, with its glittering chandeliers and polished floors, faded into the background. There was only the two of them, a couple bound not by obligation but by choice, trust, and devotion. As the music swelled, Helena felt her hand tighten around Sebastian's, and he responded with a subtle, reassuring squeeze. The warmth of his presence, the depth of his gaze, erased any lingering doubt or jealousy. Lady Ashworth lingered in the periphery, her polished smile and practiced charm irrelevant against the bond that had grown between Helena and her husband. "You're entirely mine," Helena whispered softly, leaning just enough to let her words reach him alone. "And you are entirely mine," Sebastian replied, his voice carrying both promise and certainty. "No one could ever come between us, Helena. Not now, not ever." With each turn and bow of the dance, Helena felt herself surrendering completely, not in weakness, but in a profound, liberating trust. This was the marriage she had once feared, the connection she had once believed impossible, a partnership of equals, rich in affection, respect, and desire. By the time the final notes of the dance faded into the echoes of applause, Helena knew with unshakable clarity that every challenge, every moment of doubt, every pang of jealousy had been a necessary step to reach this point. She and Sebastian had not only survived the scrutiny of London society, they had emerged stronger, united, and utterly devoted. And as they left the dance floor, heads held high and hands intertwined, Helena allowed herself to smile freely, knowing that no matter what intrigues or attentions the social season might bring, their love, tested, patient, and fiercely claimed, would endure, unbroken and entirely their own. They had gained that evening settled over them like a quiet, comforting cloak. The trials of the social season, the whispers of society, even the shadow of Lady Ashworth's persistence, all of it now seemed insignificant compared to the bond they had forged. Helena felt a sense of empowerment she had never known. she was no longer merely a young woman swept along by duty or circumstance. She was a partner, a wife whose love was matched by trust and respect, and who could face any challenge with Sebastian at her side. As their carriage rolled through the lamplit streets of London, Sebastian reached for Helena's hand, intertwining their fingers in a gentle, familiar grip. "I could get used to nights like this," he said softly, his voice carrying warmth and contentment. "So could I," Helena replied, leaning slightly against him. "Not because of the parties, or the attention, but because we're together. That's what truly matters." Sebastian smiled, a small, intimate expression meant only for her. "Exactly. Nothing else matters, not gossip, not rivals, not the world outside this carriage. Just us." Helena let herself relax completely for the first time in months, allowing the security of his love and the certainty of their commitment to fill her heart. For the first time, she understood that true happiness in marriage wasn't a grand declaration or a flawless evening, it was the quiet, unshakable knowledge that the person beside you cherished you completely, and that you could face life's storms together. By the time they arrived at their townhouse, Helena felt a serene joy that made the glittering balls and intricate social dances of London fade into mere background. The world might watch, judge, or speculate, but inside the walls of their shared life, love had triumphed, jealousy had been tamed, and trust had become unbreakable. As Sebastian helped her from the carriage and led her inside, Helena whispered, more to herself than anyone else, "This is where I belong. With him. Always." And Sebastian, catching the whisper, pressed a soft kiss to her temple and said simply, "Always, my love. Always." The rest of the season could bring what it would. Helena knew that with Sebastian by her side, nothing could shake the foundation they had built, nothing could diminish the love that had grown stronger through patience, trials, and devotion. "Techniques you've implemented," Sebastian added, his tone quietly proud. "It seems the estate flourishes under our combined efforts." Helena smiled, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction at their partnership. "It's rewarding to see our work be." Sebastian chuckled softly, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. "She will see nothing but the truth, Helena. She'll see a marriage built on partnership, affection, and mutual respect. And she'll know that her eldest sister has nothing to fear, or envy." Helena leaned into him, feeling a surge of gratitude for the life they had created together. "I can't imagine sharing it with anyone else," she said softly. "It's ours, completely." Sebastian kissed her temple, his lips lingering in a gentle caress. "Ours, in every way. And I look forward to seeing your sister witness it, not as a performance, but as a reality, one she can aspire to in her own life." Helena smiled, thinking of Margaret's upcoming debut with a mixture of anticipation and affection. "I hope she'll be inspired," she said. "But more than that, I hope she'll understand that happiness in marriage isn't about appearances or social prestige, it's about choosing the right partner, trusting them, and building a life together, day by day." Sebastian nodded, eyes alight with pride and love. "And you, Helena, have shown me what that truly means. Not just for me, but for everyone around us. Together, we can face anything, London society, estate affairs, even life's unforeseen trials. As long as we have each other, nothing else truly matters." Helena felt her heart swell at the thought. With Sebastian, she was not merely a duchess, a wife, or a social figure, she was a partner in every sense, cherished and loved completely. The letters from family, the admiration of society, the daily triumphs of estate life, they were all sweeter because they shared them together, bound not by duty alone, but by love, trust, and a devotion that grew stronger with each passing day. As the afternoon sun filtered through the tall windows of their London townhouse, Helena rested her head against Sebastian's shoulder and whispered, "I can't wait to see what we accomplish next." Sebastian's hand came up to stroke her hair, and with a quiet smile, he said, "Neither can I, my love. Neither can I." The season ahead promised challenges, excitement, and new adventures, but Helena knew, with absolute certainty, that whatever came, they would face it together, partners, equals, and deeply in love. Morrison added, nodding toward Sebastian. "He's been coordinating supplies, arranging for additional staff, and ensuring that every family is attended to. Together, they've turned what could have been a tragedy into a model of effective leadership and compassion." Helena, exhausted but resolute, paused for a moment outside a small cottage, wiping sweat from her brow. Sebastian approached her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You're remarkable," he said quietly, his voice carrying both pride and love. "I always knew you had courage, but seeing it applied like this, it takes my breath away." Helena smiled, leaning into his touch. "I learned from the best," she replied softly, her eyes meeting his. "You've always shown me how to balance responsibility with care. And now, together, we can face anything that comes our way." Their hands found each other, fingers intertwining, as they moved from cottage to cottage, providing reassurance to families and giving orders to the volunteers. The villagers themselves were inspired by their example. Sebastian's calm authority and Helena's tireless compassion instilled a sense of hope that had been desperately needed. One evening, as they returned to the castle after a long day, Dr. Morrison approached them with a relieved expression. "Thanks to your efforts, the spread of the fever has been largely contained. Families are recovering, and morale is higher than it has been since the outbreak began. I cannot thank you enough." Helena shook her head, exhausted but radiant. "We did what anyone in our position should have done," she said humbly. "The people of Whitford are our responsibility, and nothing less will suffice." Sebastian pressed a gentle kiss to her temple, his own weariness softened by pride. "And yet, somehow, you make it all seem effortless. I could not imagine facing this crisis without you by my side." Helena's heart swelled with warmth. In the midst of fear, uncertainty, and danger, their partnership, built on love, trust, and shared purpose, had proven itself unshakable. The experience had forged a bond stronger than any social season or fleeting admiration. It had been tested by fire and had emerged triumphant. As they stood together on the balcony overlooking the estate, the autumn sun casting a golden glow over the village, Helena rested her head against Sebastian's shoulder. "We've come so far," she whispered. "And yet, there's still so much more to do," Sebastian replied softly, tightening his arm around her. "But as long as we face it together, I have no doubt we can meet anything." Helena smiled, feeling the full weight and joy of that truth. In Sebastian, she had found not only a husband but a true partner, someone who matched her courage, shared her compassion, and inspired her to be her best self. And together, they would continue to lead, love, and protect, their hearts intertwined as completely as their lives. Reputation had grown immeasurably. Whispers of admiration and respect followed them wherever they went, and Helena found herself approached by ladies and gentlemen alike, eager to hear her account of the relief efforts and to express their esteem. At a formal luncheon hosted by the Marchioness of Riverton, one of the most influential socialites in London, Helena was introduced to a group of curious debutantes and their mothers. "Your Grace," the Marchioness said with an approving nod, "I hear that you and the Duke saved countless lives this autumn. Such courage and selflessness, it is truly inspiring." Helena, ever composed despite the praise, inclined her head gracefully. "We only did what anyone in our position should have done," she said. "Our tenants are part of our extended family, and their welfare is our responsibility." Sebastian, standing beside her with his usual calm authority, added with a smile, "And I could not have managed it without my wife. Her guidance, energy, and insight made all the difference." The assembled guests murmured their admiration, and Helena felt a swell of pride, not in herself alone, but in the partnership she shared with Sebastian. This was what she had always hoped marriage could be: mutual respect, shared purpose, and a love that strengthened both partners. Later, as the season continued with balls, soirees, and charity events, Helena found herself enjoying the spotlight in a way she never had before. No longer did she fear scrutiny, instead, she relished the opportunity to demonstrate the depth of her and Sebastian's partnership. Every conversation, every interaction, was another chance to show that their love was real, grounded in mutual respect and shared values, and not merely a social performance. One evening, as they returned from a particularly lavish gala, Sebastian slipped his hand into hers. "It seems the whole of London is speaking of us," he said, amusement twinkling in his eyes. Helena smiled, leaning into him. "Let them talk. We know the truth, and that is what matters." Sebastian pressed a gentle kiss to her temple. "Indeed. Let the world see what we already know in our hearts: we are partners, in love and in life, capable of anything together." Helena's heart soared at his words. Through trials, scrutiny, and even jealousy, their bond had been tempered into something unbreakable. And with Sebastian by her side, she felt ready for whatever challenges the world, or society, might present next. As the winter chill set in over London, Helena and Sebastian moved through the season with grace, confidence, and an unshakable sense of purpose. Their love had become a beacon, both private and public, a testament to the power of partnership, courage, and devotion. In the warmth of their shared victories and quiet moments, they found not only happiness, but the profound satisfaction of lives lived together, fully and fearlessly. Sebastian's expression hardened, and Helena, sensing the shift, moved subtly closer to his side. "I think everything of importance has already been said, Vivian," he replied evenly. "My wife's character speaks for itself, and I trust her completely. If you have any concerns, you may present them to me formally, in writing." Lady Ashworth's lips pressed into a thin line, a flicker of frustration passing over her features. She gave a curt nod, realizing that her attempt to sow discord had utterly failed. "Very well," she said stiffly, and with a final glance that sought to unnerve Helena, she withdrew back toward her companions. Helena exhaled quietly, a small smile tugging at her lips. "You handled that perfectly," she whispered, taking Sebastian's hand. "As always, we face these challenges together," he said, pressing a gentle kiss to the back of her hand. "No one can shake the foundation we've built, not her, not anyone." The remainder of the evening passed without incident. Helena found herself laughing, dancing, and conversing freely, her confidence bolstered by the knowledge that Sebastian's love and loyalty were unwavering. The previous pangs of jealousy were now completely replaced by admiration for his composure and for her own growth in handling such situations. As they departed the ball, the streets of London glittering under the December frost, Helena leaned into Sebastian's arm. "I never thought I'd enjoy these social obligations as much as I do," she said, her voice soft with contentment. "It's no longer a performance, my love," Sebastian replied, his blue eyes shining in the gaslight. "It's a celebration of what we share, of the life we've built, and of the love that has seen us through everything." Helena smiled, feeling a warmth that no cold season could diminish. The trials, the jealousy, the scrutiny, they had all strengthened the bond between them. With Sebastian beside her, she knew that whatever challenges life might bring, they would face them as equals, partners, and, above all, devoted companions. And as the carriage carried them home through the quiet, lantern-lit streets, Helena realized that their marriage, once fraught with uncertainty, had become a fortress of love, trust, and mutual respect, impervious to any threat, and radiant in its triumph. Helena smiled as James chattered happily about his adventures with the little horse, her heart swelling with a warmth that only family could bring. She glanced toward Catherine, her tiny fingers curling around a soft blanket, and felt a profound sense of gratitude for the life they had built together. The castle, once a place of duty and responsibility, now resonated with laughter, love, and the quiet joy of domestic life. By the time Sebastian returned that evening, the nursery had been tidied, and Helena was rocking Catherine gently, humming a soft tune. The moment he stepped inside, James ran to him, the toy horse clutched proudly in his hand. "Papa, look what I have!" Sebastian scooped his son into his arms, his face lighting up with pure delight. "Ah, James! And who gave you this marvelous gift?" "Helena," James exclaimed. "Mama says you'll love it." Sebastian kissed Helena's cheek, the silent communication between them conveying everything words never could. "You've made their day, my love," he said warmly. "As always." Helena laughed softly, feeling the ease and contentment that came from a life shared with someone who truly understood her. "We've made many days, Sebastian," she replied, "and I hope we make countless more like this one." Sebastian settled into the nursery with them, sharing stories, laughter, and the simple joys of family life. In that moment, the castle felt less like a grand estate and more like a home built on love, trust, and partnership, the very legacy Helena and Sebastian had created together. And as the children played and the fire crackled softly, Helena realized that the greatest triumph of their marriage was not the admiration of society, nor the trials they had overcome, but the quiet, enduring happiness they had nurtured together, one filled with laughter, devotion, and the unshakable certainty of belonging to each other. Helena watched Sebastian tuck James into bed with a soft smile, the flickering candlelight casting a warm glow across the nursery. Catherine's gentle breathing filled the room, a quiet reminder of the life and love they had nurtured together. She took a deep breath, letting herself linger in the peaceful satisfaction that came from a life built on devotion, partnership, and trust. Sebastian returned to her side, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. "Do you ever marvel at how far we've come?" he asked quietly. "All the time," Helena replied, her fingers entwining with his. "From strangers bound by duty to lovers and parents, partners in every sense. I couldn't have imagined a life richer than this." He kissed her temple softly. "And yet, every challenge, every doubt, every unexpected twist led us here. It makes me treasure it all the more." Helena rested her head against his chest. "We resisted the love we needed, and yet it found us anyway. Perhaps that's the lesson for everyone, that life's greatest gifts often arrive disguised, and the ones we resist the most can become our greatest blessings." Sebastian tightened his embrace. "And as long as we choose each other, every day, we can face whatever comes, together." In that quiet moment, with their children safe and sleeping, Helena and Sebastian knew the truth of their love. It was not just passion or desire, but an enduring partnership, a promise kept, and a life shared fully. Their story was proof that love could bloom even in the most unlikely of circumstances, and when it did, it could transform everything. Outside, the world continued on, but within the walls of Whitford Castle, there was only warmth, security, and the radiant knowledge that their hearts had found exactly what they had been searching for all along.